Hey everyone, Chris here. Welcome back. Today I am going to really dive into the 1955 Topps All-American set as we kind of start this set spotlight. I did do a video where I did an introduction of this set and I showed card number 1, which is Herman Hickman, who not only was a college All-American and a great football player, but he was also tasked with coming up with the other players that were going to be in this set. So I'm really excited about showing this and getting this started. I've had a few people who have actually told me that they're excited about this or that they're either working on this set or thinking about working on this set. So I think, to me, this is one of the great football sets and just a classic football set for vintage football cards. And I'm hoping that as we go through this and as time goes by, that people will really grow in their appreciation for this set. I do believe that every vintage football collector should add at least one of these to their collections. So for the first card, we have card number 2, which is John Kimbrough. I love this card. I love the way his picture is kind of set on the black and white game photo. To me, that's one of the great things about these cards is those game photos that they actually have from college football games from years gone by. And I think this one's just a great looking overall eye appeal for this card. But he played for the Texas A&M Aggies from 1938 to 1940. He was on the 1939 National Championship football team and finished second in Heisman voting in 1940 as runner-up to Michigan's Tom Harmon. Now, Tom Harmon, you may remember in that first video, was actually the last card that I needed to complete this set. But he was also an Army pilot in the Pacific Theater during World War II. Afterwards, he had a 3-year career in the NFL playing, or I'm sorry, not the NFL, but the AAFC, where he played for the Los Angeles Dons. He actually had to retire because he had heart problems at a young age. And he is also a member of the College Football Hall of Fame. Next card we have is card number 3, which is Ed Weir. This is just a great looking card. I mean, this old school Nebraska Cornhusker uniform or football uniform. And I love the Cornhusker logo up in the upper left-hand corner there. And again, I like the action photo in this one as well. He's got that old school leather helmet and the old football there that he's holding. This is just one of the classic poses in this set. Shout out to Vintage Card Steve, who is a Nebraska Cornhusker fan. This is just a great looking card. He played for Nebraska from 1923 through 1925. And he was an All-American in 1924 and 25. And he is also a member of the College Football Hall of Fame. He was the captain of the 1923 Nebraska Cornhusker team that beat the Notre Dame team that had the Four Horsemen on it. Now, that Four Horsemen team only lost twice in a 3-year span, and both times it was to Nebraska. This win in 1923 was actually only the 3rd game at Nebraska's Memorial Stadium, which is where they currently play their home football games. To me, it's a very historical football stadium, and they get all those, it's just kind of a red wave of fans in there on Saturdays, and just a historical stadium. But he is also credited with being a key component of the 1925 team that beat Red Grange in an Illinois team, and in that game, Red Grange had minus rushing yards. And he played briefly in the NFL for the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets. They were an NFL team from 1924 until 1931. And from 1926 to 1928, he played for them. And he was also a player coach during the 1927 and 28 seasons. That team in 1926 won the NFL championship. And one of his teammates was Hust Stockton. Now, Hust Stockton is actually the grandfather of former Utah Jazz and Hall of Fame point guard John Stockton. After his pro career, he came back to Nebraska and he was a track and field coach. And he was also an assistant football coach to legendary coach Dana Bible. Next card we have here is card number 4, which is Ernie Pinkert. He played for the USC Trojans from 1929 to 1932, and he was considered just one of the best and toughest blocking backs of his time, back when blocking was a big deal from a running back. I mean, it was really a big deal. I mean, they did just as much blocking as an offensive lineman would do back then. He was a 2-time All-American, and he played on 2 winning Rose Bowl teams and was the player of the game in the 1932 Rose Bowl when he scored 2 touchdowns. Now, during the 1931 season, the Trojans played the Georgia Bulldogs, and the Bulldogs had a player who was also an All-American named Vernon Catfish Smith. And Pinkert basically just dominated him all game, leveling him with blocks, and he would kind of taunt him every time he'd kind of lay him out. He'd say, "Get up, Mr. All-American," and just really kind of taunting the guy. But this game, USC beat Georgia 60-0 in the LA Coliseum before 75,000 fans. And just to show you, Georgia only lost 2 games that year, one of them being this 60-0 blowout. He also had a pretty good career where he played several seasons for the Boston/Washington Redskins. Now this next card is card number 5, who is Bobby Grayson. He played for the Stanford Cardinal from 1933 to 1935. He was recruited by legendary football coach Pop Warner. A lot of you may recognize that name from Pop Warner football. And he was also a 2-time All-American. In the 1934 Rose Bowl, he rushed for 152 yards, which at the time was a record. And afterwards, Ernie Nevers called him the best back that he had ever seen. Grayson played in 3 straight Rose Bowls, winning one of those in 1936, which was actually the first sellout that the Rose Bowl ever had. And he also kind of famous for during his freshman year, which he played freshman football. He was not on the varsity team. He saw his team lose to USC, and he kind of got together with some other players, and they said, "We're never going to lose to these guys again." And in his 3 years that he was with them, that he played football, they never did lose to USC. Now, the last card is one of my favorite cards in the set. Just an incredible story to me. It's just incredible. And it's actually also one of the cards that I am hoping to upgrade one day. I'd like to get one that's in a little better condition. I think this one's got a little bit of a diamond cut, and it's something that one day I do hope to kind of upgrade a little bit here. But again, just a great looking pose. He's got this old football. This is Nile Kinnick, actually, is his name. That S is an error that was never corrected. It is Nile Kinnick. And Nile Kinnick was kind of your all-American boy. He seemed to be just the perfect person, perfect kid, kind of that kind of thing. And everything he did, he kind of excelled at. Now, as far as football, he played for the Iowa Hawkeyes from 1937 to 1939. And originally, the Minnesota Gophers, who were a powerhouse at the time, they wanted Kinnick. And he ultimately decided to go to Iowa, who was really a struggling football team at the time. But he wanted the challenge of trying to make them better. Now, he was a 3-sport athlete in high school also, and he was a Heisman Trophy winner. He won the Heisman Trophy in 1939 and gave one of the great all-time speeches for accepting the Heisman Trophy. And I'm going to link that if you get a chance to kind of look at that. It's just kind of, it's really remarkable. And remarkable that we even have footage of that, or at least a recording of it. And so hopefully you'll get a chance to look at that. He had a Sports Century that they did on him that I'm going to link also. That obviously is a little bit longer of a watch, but I think it's great to look at as well. He, in 1939, so the first couple of years that he played for Iowa, they won a combined 2 football games. But then in his senior year, they went 6-1-1, and he won just pretty much every major award that you could win in 1939. He was a Heisman Trophy winner, Big Ten MVP. He was an All-American. He won the Maxwell Award, Walter Camp Memorial Trophy, and he was also the AP Male Athlete of the Year, beating out people like Joe DiMaggio, Byron Nelson, and Joe Louis. After college, he was drafted by the NFL's Brooklyn Dodgers and was offered a $1,000 a game salary, but he turned it down to go to law school, kind of thinking more in the long term and things like that. And he ultimately, once World War II started breaking out, he joined the Navy, and he was in the Navy. And on June 2nd, 1943, while on a routine training flight conducted from the USS Lexington, the plane he was flying had an oil leak so bad that I guess when he took off, they had other planes on the ship, and there was really no room for him to land again. So he decided that he was going to try and make an emergency landing into the water, and he ended up dying. They never recovered his body or the plane, and he was just shy of his 25th birthday. And this guy was, to Iowans, he was pretty much like Babe Ruth. He was just larger than life, and I think if you watch that Sports Century, you'll really get an understanding of just how good he really was. Now, in 1972, the stadium where Iowa plays its football games was actually renamed after him and named Kinnick Stadium. But he's just a fascinating person, and one thing that I really kind of have a personal attachment to this card is the fact that my grandfather also served on the USS Lexington during World War II. So for me, it kind of makes this card a little bit extra special because I have a little bit of a connection, if you will. And I don't know if my grandfather knew him or not, but still just kind of a cool little piece, and I'm happy to have it in the collection. So I appreciate all of you watching. Sorry this ran a little bit long, but some of these players are just fascinating to me. And we will talk to you next time.